You ever feel like life's just daring you to get out, then throws every crazy obstacle in your way? That's pretty much how my final weeks in Willow Glen Estates played out. But I'll tell you right now, if you're sitting there thinking my HOA is a pain, buckle up, because you ain't seen nothing like this. My name's Jack Bentley, 58, contractor by trade. Been called a few things in this town, but never thought I'd end up public enemy number one in a place I used to call home. My wife, Marlene, passed 2 years ago. Cancer, sudden, brutal, the kind of loss that turns a house into a mausoleum. You keep finding coffee mugs she left out, her old reading glasses on the nightstand, and eventually you realize you're just haunting your own life. So, after months of talking to her empty chair, I decided it was time to finally leave Willow Glen behind, by that little cabin out near Lake Sable, her favorite fishing spot. She used to say, "We'll retire out there, you and me, Jack, just watch the sun drop." Guess retirement came early, but she didn't get to see it. Now, when I moved into Willow Glen 12 years back, it looked like the American dream. Gated subdivision, lawns so manicured you'd think God was on retainer, and an HOA that prided itself on protecting property values. All that order seemed like a good idea until it turned into a prison run by a warden named Beverly Crane. Beverly's got this vibe. Imagine a real estate broker with the soul of a correctional officer. She's been the head of our HOA for almost a decade, rules the board from her fortress at the cul-de-sac, measuring tape always handy, eyes everywhere. She once fined a neighbor $50 for planting yellow tulips instead of the pre-approved whites. People joke the most feared sound in the neighborhood is the snap of Beverly's tape measure. 3 weeks before moving day, I did everything by the book. 30-day notice, no fees, all paperwork straight. Didn't matter. Beverly, perched up front at the HOA board meeting, reads off my request, then announces it's denied. Insufficient community impact assessment. Like I'm trying to move plutonium, not my mother's old couch. She tells me I need to hire a certified HOA transition consultant. And, surprise, surprise, the only one available is her sister. The price? $2,500. I laughed right in her face and walked out. That's when the real circus started. Orange cones blocking my driveway. Unauthorized relocation zone, signs popping up on my lawn like it's Halloween. Beverly sent letters to the folks selling me the cabin, warning them I was fleeing debts. Complete fiction, but enough to shake up a real estate deal. Then she took to Facebook, posting, "Jack Bentley is abandoning his community responsibilities." 47 angry reacts, and not one person bothered to ask my side. That night, my son called. "Evan, FBI, Financial Crimes Division. Dad, this is harassment," he said. "It's just HOA drama, son," I told him. "I've handled worse than a middle-aged real estate tyrant." But Evan wasn't so sure, and I guess he was right. I had no idea my late wife had been digging into Beverly's finances before she got sick. Turns out Marlene was a regular Sherlock. USB drives hidden away, bank statements, notes on all the little irregularities Beverly tried to bury. Marlene died trying to protect this community, and nobody even knew. Fast forward to moving day. Movers show up early. Everything's legal, all paid for. Before they can even lift a box, Beverly storms out in her bathrobe, hair in curlers, screaming about illegal commercial vehicles. Claims she needs to inspect every box for community property. Then she disappears inside and comes back out with chains and a padlock, clamps the whole moving truck to her mailbox, blocks the only way out. That's when the rocks start flying. She and her loyalists hurl landscaping stones at my truck, cracking the glass. My driver ducks for cover. "Ma'am, this is insane," he says, but Beverly's just getting started. She's got 3 neighbors with her, standing there like some HOA militia. "Jack Bentley, you are in violation of Willow Glen Community Code Section 47B, unauthorized asset removal." She's literally pointing at my mailbox, claiming it belongs to the HOA. "Beverly, I installed that myself." I remind her, but she's already whipping out plastic zip-tie handcuffs, fresh from Amazon. Still got the sticky residue on them. I'm making a citizen's arrest. She tries to snatch my house keys, claws at my wrist. The whole thing's caught on camera, because by now I'm filming every second, and so is the moving driver. Then it clicks. Her so-called witnesses aren't supporters. They're just terrified. I look at Tom, my next-door neighbor. "Tom, you really think I'm stealing my own mailbox?" He looks at his shoes. admits Beverly threatened to fine him if he didn't support her. Same story with old Mrs. Patterson. She'd been bullied over her dogs barking. These people weren't with her, they were just scared. It escalates so fast. Cops show up, blue lights dancing. Beverly puts on the waterworks, spinning some wild tale about theft of community assets. The officer just looks tired. Sir, is this your property? Yes, paid off. Taxes current. Here's the deed. Ma'am, HOA bylaws don't override state law, he says, practically yawning. You can't steal someone's mailbox. Beverly sputters, can't get her words out. They warn her about harassment and leave. You'd think that'd be the end. You'd be wrong. 2 in the morning, my doorbell rings, again and again. I stumble to the door in my boxers, and there's Beverly, clipboard in hand, flashlight, wearing what might have been a security guard costume from Party City. Emergency HOA inspection, she announces. Section 23C allows inspections at any hour for safety violations. I helped write those bylaws 12 years ago. There is no Section 23C. Get off my property, or I'm calling the police. She tries to push past me, reeking of cheap wine and power. I slam the door and dial 911. By morning, Beverly's filed emergency complaints with the city, says I've made unauthorized renovations. The city inspector shows up, checks every corner, finds nothing. Permits are good, everything legal. This complaint appears to be frivolous, he says, trying not to laugh. But Beverly's unraveling now. She's calling in fake legal threats, creating a phony law firm with her maiden name, mailing me cease and desist letters. She somehow gets keys to my house, changes the locks, and tapes a note to the door. Property secured pending HOA investigation. My neighbor watches as I pay a locksmith $80 just to get back into my own house. That's when I find a manila envelope on my kitchen counter. Inside are bank statements I don't recognize, money moving from the HOA account to something called Community Solutions Group, the same consulting company her sister runs. It gets nastier. Beverly tapes a fake lien notice to my door, 15 grand in bogus HOA fines, all made up. She calls Child Protective Services, claims Evan's mentally unstable, tries to tank his FBI career. She calls my realtor, says I'm under federal investigation, tries to sabotage my cabin deal. She files false complaints against me and even tries to have my son investigated for using federal resources for personal vendettas. Evan's supervisors know it's nonsense, but still, they have to open a file. And she's not done. 8 o'clock that night, some clown in a cheap suit shows up, tries to serve me foreclosure papers. All fake, of course, bad seals, wrong signatures, the whole 9 yards. I call Evan. He tells me to keep everything. Dad, she's racking up federal charges faster than she can print fake letters. Turns out, Evan's been running her info through the Bureau's fraud databases. Beverly Crane's a serial HOA scammer, complaints in 3 other states, always moves on before anyone can stop her. And that shell company? Registered in Delaware, run by her ex-husband, who's already serving 5 years for real estate fraud. That's when it gets personal. We go through Marlene's old files, find her secret investigation, bank statements, notes, even proof Beverly rigged the last HOA election. Marlene died before she could finish it, but she'd left us a roadmap. Evan and I start gathering allies. Mrs. Patterson, it turns out, was a retired IRS auditor, 42 years chasing tax cheats. She's got spreadsheets that'd make a CPA weep, shows Beverly's been laundering over $200,000 through fake maintenance contracts, non-existent pool repairs, and cash real estate deals. Other neighbors come forward, bringing evidence, phony fines, cash settlements, to avoid violations, threats, and blackmail. It's a criminal enterprise hiding behind HOA rules. Evan, explains the key is interstate activity for federal jurisdiction. Beverly's shell companies cross state lines, and every fake invoice, every fraudulent transfer is a new nail in her coffin. We call the local news, hand over the files, and suddenly the story's out. Beverly panics, tries to frame me by planting drugs in my house, baking soda, as it turns out, slashes my tires, bribes the mailman to hold my mail, and files so many fake restraining orders the judge finally tells her to knock it off. The big day comes. Emergency HOA meeting, full house, news cameras rolling, half the town outside. Beverly struts to the podium, tries to accuse me of everything from theft to terrorism. But the vice president stands up and announces Beverly's been voted out. Mrs. Patterson calmly pulls out her phone, plays the recording of Beverly trying to bribe her to stay quiet. Evan stands up, flashes his badge. Mrs. Crane, you're under federal investigation for mail fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and racketeering. Beverly tries to bolt, but the FBI's waiting. She's cuffed right there in front of the cameras, neighbors actually applauding. And just like that, the nightmare ends. The news headlines read, HOA fraud queen sentenced to 8 years. All the stolen money, over $500,000, gets returned to the homeowners. The HOA finally builds the pool Marlene always wanted, thanks to seized assets. New transparency rules come in, and my cabin by Lake Sable becomes a sanctuary, not a prison. Evan's case makes it into FBI training material. Texas passes a law requiring CPA audits for all big HOAs. And Beverly? She gets extradited to face even more charges in Arizona and Colorado. The woman who chained my moving truck ended up chained herself, and the legacy my wife left, of standing up and fighting back, ends up protecting communities all across the country. You want a lesson? Here it is: trust but verify. And if your HOA president starts acting like a dictator, save every document, record every threat, and never, ever let fear win. Justice always finds a way, especially when people stand together. Now, I'll ask you, what's your worst HOA nightmare? Drop your story in the comments, share where you're watching from, and if you've ever tangled with a Beverly Crane of your own, you're not alone. Thanks for hearing mine.